and welcome to a very special episode of the Mustang Studios podcast. I am your host for today, Padma, one of the officers, and joining me are the members of Mesa. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today. So please introduce yourselves.
All right, hello, my name is Hania. I am a current senior at Mountain House High School, and I am also part of the Biomedical Pathway in BI right now.
My name is Yakshi. I'm also a senior at Mountain House High School. I am doing this uh, pathway as well.
I'm Saniya. I'm also a senior. I'm part of the BI class and the Mesa group.
Hi, my name is Tiya, and I'm a senior at Mountain House High School, and I've been in the biomedical pathway for the last 4 years.
So, a quick disclaimer before we get started. This topic will be quite sensitive for some people, but we implore all viewers to kind of listen with an open mind and perhaps you'll learn something interesting from this episode. So, tell us, what is this club about?
We started MESA for our biomedical capstone project for community awareness. MESA stands for Moving to End Sexual Assault. MESA is a community awareness campaign focused on spreading awareness and teaching high school students how to protect themselves in a situation where they're being assaulted. Our goal for this project is to provide students with information and various resources needed to feel prepared for a sexual assault situation they might encounter.
So, how did you guys come up with this concept of why sexual assault specifically?
So, our main audience is high school students, so we decided to use success as one of our main resources because it was accessible time for a directed audience. We came up with this topic for our capstone project because we felt like we needed more awareness on this topic because not a lot of women know how or what to do in this specific kind of situation. So we decided to have presentations with our advisor, Mrs. Cantu, and we focus on different aspects of sexual assault.
So, one specific presentation we had focused on what is sexual assault. We talked about how sexual assault is a form of sexual activity forced on someone else without a person's consent. And it's incredibly important for students to know that it's not the victim's fault, but the survivor does not hold any blame. Alongside, we also discussed the importance of consent and how to recognize consent. So, myths about sexual assaults are part of the reason why they happen. Myths may explain why so many people are reluctant to talk about their experiences and seek help. So we made the presentation interactive by allowing students to differentiate between fact or myth. Instead of sitting down or just raising their hands, we turned it into some sort of game. If they thought it was a fact, they would go to one side of the room and vice versa.
Another presentation discussed characteristics of relationships and how to recognize unhealthy or abusive relationships. We interacted with our audience by presenting them with scenarios where they had to recognize consent and whether it was being given or not.
So all of our sessions and activities were promoted through Instagram. Instagram has become one of our main platforms to create awareness about sexual assault. We had stories and multiple posts from reliable sources like rain.org.
So, tell us, what is rain.org and what is this site about?
So it's basically a site online that we found, and they also promote awareness for sexual assault, and they have a lot of people who have been through it, and they have victim stories and all these kinds of things on the actual website. And so through Rain.org, we saw a lot of these posts that we could actually promote on our Instagram as well. And so we decided to take those posts and put them.
Okay. So, it's a valuable resource for anyone who wants to know more about sexual assault and how to avoid it or perhaps recognize it.
Yes, definitely. They also have, I think, they have more information about what to do if you do or encounter that kind of situation. So if anyone is going through that, that would be a good resource.
Wonderful. So, what have you guys done outside of school activities or perhaps school hours? I hear that you guys have partnered with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu to promote awareness. So, can you guys tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so as you said, we did partner with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu to provide a class focusing on basic self-defense lessons. Our class was on March 4th, 10 days ago, and the place, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, offered a free self-defense lesson coached by Sarah Chavez at the location in Mountain House. The lessons had about 30 people, 15 of whom came from Mesa. We promoted the self-defense lesson because it's important for women to be able to recognize when they're in danger and be able to take action in a potentially dangerous situation.
Interesting. So, what have you guys learned? Any personal things that you guys have learned from you gone to the classes or maybe
So Coach Sarah personally taught us some very essential and basic self-defense skills that frankly gave all the participants of the lesson a sense of empowerment in their ability to help themselves in given situations where they don't feel safe. And I think that this self-defense lesson was not only important for us to physically prepare ourselves, but also mentally. It gave me like a sense of confidence that reminded me that I'm capable of standing up for myself as a young woman. And in fact, this lesson inspired me so much that I would actually be interested in continuing to participate in more lessons so I could actually develop my skills in self-defense further.
So, what do you guys think is the most important trait for someone to have when trying to avoid sexual assault or trying to kind of get out of such a situation? What did they tell you about the most important thing?
Most important skill.
The most important skill, yes.
I think at the moment it's just kind of staying calm in that situation. Like, I know that's hard to do, but in that situation it's important to like keep yourself grounded and know what you want to do in there and at that moment. So like this self-defense skill she taught us, we had to know what to do in that moment, or like hold someone a certain way and pull your hand out. So yeah, and I
So
would
mental preparation, basically.
yeah, definitely that.
I also wouldn't say trait because I don't think any woman can have this trait. It's just something that we didn't grow up preparing for this. We shouldn't be preparing for a situation like this, but we should be aware of our surroundings. Like especially like late at night, like we shouldn't be on our phone. Like it's just something that we kind of have to do. And self defense lessons taught us just some extra ways to prepare ourselves if we are in a situation like this.
So, I mean, I also do like this kind of thing. I do martial arts outside of school, and I think the number one thing that taught us is just basic awareness. Always get to know your surroundings, the people that you're with, and kind of the environment that you're around. So they also have different tiers of awareness. Like when you're on your phone, it's like tier 0. When you're like just looking around, it's like tier 1. And then also that escalates the more and more a situation becomes worse and worse.
Yeah.
So little things like those, I feel like that's so very important to keep in mind. And not just restricted to women, but pretty much anybody. It may not be just sexual assault, but like robberies. You're getting mugged. I don't know, you could possibly get kidnapped if you don't pay attention to who you're with or where you are.
Definitely.
So how has this project impacted you guys, maybe academically or even personally?
So this project started off as our capstone project, but it became so much more than that. Sexual assault is a sensitive topic, and when we decided to do this topic, we didn't realize how much more we would learn along the way. Our main goal was to create awareness amongst the community here at Mountain House High, and we feel that we've achieved so much more than just awareness. For example, through our self-defense lesson, we helped provide students with an introduction to self-defense so they could feel more confident in their own ability to stand up for themselves. Mesa has become more than just a capstone project to us, but it's become a cause that we will continue to support and further raise awareness for in the future. And we hope that the importance of creating awareness for the sexual assault will continue to be a bigger part of our school.
Wonderful. It's very informative. So we have a little bit more time, so I feel like we can get into some more in-depth about what you guys are doing. So I personally, what I want to know is like, what do you guys do specifically in this classes? What kind of techniques or methods did they teach you to get out of maybe basic like confrontations
In jiu-jitsu?
in jiu-jitsu?
So it was one lesson, but they did teach us a few like moves basically. So at one point we were like holding a person's hand, and then so we had to like try to get out of their grasp. So we moved our hand away from them in a certain angle. So they taught us that kind of a move, and they had some other moves as well.
Mm-hmm. So one key thing is that when you're trying to break someone's grip, it's not a great idea to go against their fingers, because if you think of it, you have 4 fingers, but you only have 1 thumb. Though your thumb may be stronger than your individual finger, it's not as strong as the 4 fingers combined. So pro tip, if you're trying to get out of a wrist grab, if someone's trying to grab you by the wrist, especially if their hands are big, use both of your hands to try to get out of it. If there's it's like a really large dude, for example, he's like, his hand is about as big as my face. Obviously, I'm not going to get one like tug of the wrist is not going to get me out of it. Use both of your hands and try to put your weight into it as you force yourself out of it.
Yeah, they did teach us that as well, trying to like be strong with it. So
Yeah, we're really not professionals because we
Yeah.
only took one self-defense class.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I just feel like most self-defense situations, especially with martial arts, it's just physics. It's all it is, really. if you know how to kind of move your own weight and I guess use it to your advantage in some way, I think you will be safe in most situations. But the number one thing that I was taught personally is just awareness. Always just be aware of your surroundings at all times.
Mhm.
We did a similar thing like this with another group that came. They talked about date rape drugs and kind of safety in knowing, again, awareness, and then also kind of understanding what it is you're consuming and if it could possibly intoxicate you.
Mhm.
How important do you think that is to ending, or not ending per se, but like raising awareness for sexual assault?
I think that's definitely important to know about because that happens a lot at parties and many other events. So knowing to like be aware of that sort of thing as well and like know who to trust because obviously it's hard to trust every single person at a party. So know who's your friend and have someone there with you.
Are there anything you look out for when you find someone that you think is trustworthy?
Honestly, I would look out for someone who I've known for like a long time who I know I can trust. Like someone I met like 5 minutes ago would not be someone I would trust, obviously.
Fair point. So, anything else you guys want to add for, a group?
Do you have any more questions for us? We can answer that.
Oh, absolutely, actually. How do you guys feel about the whole, like, I know sexual assault is such an unfortunate thing, and it's, especially, we're a group of young girls, we have to be probably the most worried about it. Do you think it's fair, honestly? Do you think it's something that we should be worried about in general? Now, I just want to know
Sexual assault?
the idea that it could happen to anybody.
Absolutely. I mean,
Wait, do you think sexual, like, what's your question? Can you reword it?
So the way, okay, sorry about the weird phrasing. It's
That's
just
okay.
that I feel like it's really weird that it's always taught to us as young girls that we have to be the ones most aware of like this kind of stuff could happen to us more often.
Mhm.
But do you think that's really a fair concern? Just because we're girls, it could happen to us more often?
Absolutely. Yeah, because I want to say absolutely not, but that's not the truth. Because there's more cases in women than men or kids, and it sucks that there's cases for like just for everybody. But as women, I feel like it's more hard for us because there's that it's like that social stereotype that men can go out at night and women can't because we're more likely to get sexually assaulted. And I'm not saying that like there's no men who get sexually assaulted, but there's a higher chance for us to get sexually assaulted. And it's not fair that we have to worry about that more than men, but it's the truth.
I just wanted to know your guys' opinion on that. So the interesting thing about jujitsu is that it is a grappling art. So what you're doing is that it's designed for smaller people to be able to overcome larger opponents, which is perfect for getting away from very sticky situations or even potential like sexual assault situations.
Yeah.
So it's basically using the opponent's own strength and size against them. With the combinations of joint locks, chokeholds, controls, all that kind of stuff. With other martial arts, Taekwondo, for example, because it's something I do, it's a striking art. So you are physically like you use your hands and feet to strike the opponent. Usually, they use striking arts are. I don't know how true this is. Maybe if any one of our audience members, anyone listening to this podcast, may comment in our Dropbox, just to maybe qualify or disqualify what I'm saying. They're more striking arts are more seen in like more popular in a sense because it's been popularized in movies and all of that stuff, but also because that's what you see more in like MMA fights. When fighters of equal size and weight are there in the ring, usually they'll start off with striking, but it also depends on the fighter's like preferences.
No, I noticed that during jiu-jitsu, we were using the person who's being assaulted in a sexual assault situation is usually someone who's bigger than you. So then, I went in expecting that we were gonna be like learning how to throw a punch or something, but we were mostly like learning how to get out of their opening. So let's say that they grab your elbow, then there's gonna be one part where there's an opening, so you have to like let your arm loose and then get out of that situation.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Jiu-jitsu is not a striking art. You're grabbing your opponent to kind of put them into submissions, chokeholds, joint locks, wrist locks, whatever it is, right? Because you, I suppose, if you're a smaller person, like maybe you're like 4'11" or something, and the guy or whoever it is, your opponent is like, I don't know, 5'10", obviously that's not going to be a very fair fight. Size-wise, they have the advantage. So what jiu-jitsu does is that it gives you the tools and kind of the know-how to get around that height difference by getting that person to kind of your like level in a sense, because you're trying to come out on top. What you do, you're trying to redirect their own strength and use it against them. The same thing they do in judo too.
Yeah. Well, like the main goal, and if let's say if you were in a situation like this, I wouldn't say to fight the opponent, or you're just trying to get out of the situation, just like immediately run away. But like learning those skills were very helpful, because like just being able to do that, then you have the upper hand to just leave and exit the situation.
It's also, it feels very empowering to know how to get out of such situations.
Yeah. The self-defense lessons were very empowering. We all very much enjoyed it, and at Grace Jiu-Jitsu, it's like 4 self-defense lessons for $100.
Yeah,
I
it
believe.
was one
This
class.
is not a sponsored segment, by the way.
It is not a sponsored segment. We just absolutely enjoyed the self-defense class, and it was just really fun, and I think it was really helpful, and we learned a lot from that, and we would definitely consider going back again. And I feel like if like whoever's listening to this podcast, if they're ever interested, then they should definitely check out the jiu-jitsu place in Mountain House.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're interested in learning self-defense, maybe you want to get fit, you want to do, something new, kind of try something different, get into martial arts. Take up a taekwondo, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, boxing, wrestling, judo, whatever it is, any gym near you, try it. It is really fun. It's also incredibly good for stress relief. If you're someone who has a lot of pent-up frustration, you're not really into the whole meditation kind of thing, you can't just sit still and kind of let your mind go. You just kind of have to get it out physically. This is perfect. You also learn a lot of discipline, a lot of good habits in general, like even eating habits, sleeping habits, kind of workout routines, all of that stuff. It's really, really good, really healthy too.
I feel like people often back off sometimes, thinking that it's only an offensive kind of sport or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's definitely defensive too. So
The best offense is defense. Really, your best defense is your best offense. It's vice versa, really. If you know how to defend yourself, you're also good at going on the offensive.
Yeah.
So, thank you for joining me in the Mustang Studios. So, be sure to check out their Instagram. Your Instagram, please.
mhhs.mesa. It's on Instagram, so you guys can go check that out. We do have a lot of posts and reminders for anything else.
So you want to learn more about sexual assault, maybe you want more details about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, check out their page. And as usual, check out MHH's The Mustang Studios podcast at our Instagram, MHH's Mustang Studios. And be sure to check out our Spotify, check out our Anchor. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, we have a Dropbox located right outside the studio. Just write something, put it in, and we may read it out. And that's it for today. Bye-bye.